You ever heard the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words? Have you ever thought about what that means to you? To me, this describes how one image could convey the same meaning as something that might take a lot of words to describe. And of course, 1,000 is an arbitrary number. It might take more, and it might take less, to impress upon someone that which one photo might. But ultimately, it's still the same concept, that photographs are capable of conveying more meaning with less than words. And it's not always the case, of course. Your significant other, for example, could convey more meaning with 3 words, I love you, than perhaps one image could. Let's look at this through another lens, so to speak. Photography comes from photos, meaning light, and graphos, meaning writing, delineation, or painting. Thus, one could consider photography to be writing or painting with light. And let me tell you why I think that's important to understand. Recently, I filmed a trip that I took to Grand Haven for this channel. It was an incredibly foggy morning, and the fog caused the beach to look much different than it usually does. I had a composition in mind that I wanted to try out, but the fog forced me to reconsider that. On the spot, I had to adapt to the circumstances that the weather forced upon me. But my interest in the aforementioned composition wasn't satisfied. So I went to Grand Haven again this past week. Normally I wouldn't consider filming and uploading a similar location to a recent video, but I think this is an interesting exception. I want to use the photographs from these 2 trips to show how they each can convey vastly different information to a viewer. So let's get into it. That thick fog felt restrictive and haunting. Lake Michigan is vast, but the reduced visibility only allowed me to see a few feet into it, and it made me think about ships disappearing into that thick fog, never to return. Contrast that to this footage from a more normal day, and that prior meaning is lost. I don't think about ships disappearing, never to return. Instead, I see how vast the lake is. Time isn't lost to me as it was when the fog obscured the sun. I can tell that it's a sunrise, and I can see the storm clouds on the horizon. So I woke up at 4:30. I thought, I'm going to go to Grand Haven again. Looks pretty good, and I wanted to show it without the fog this time. So I didn't really have a chance to vlog because I had to leave now after I woke up. So I'm out here shooting right now. Let's show you what I got going on. And I think I'm getting some really good shots, but it's also starting to rain, so that's going to be fun to deal with. While I photographed the sunrise as it appeared to the west, I kept an eye on how it appeared to the east. I saw the most beautiful light I've seen in some time, so I decided to make a run for it, literally. So, I'm out of breath because I'm ready. I literally ran down the pier. So you see what's behind me. I'm trying to shoot the lighthouse from the opposite side before that amazing sun goes away, in hopes that I can find a good angle. As the sunrise began to fade, I found a spot that would have to suffice for a composition. I just didn't have any more time to experiment around with potential locations. Managed to catch my breath a little bit. Ignore the messy hair. That's just what's going to happen when you wake up super early in the morning and don't have time to do anything with it. Light over on the other side is dying down now, but I think I ran out here just in time. I think I'm going to have some okay shots, but I won't know until I get home, so here's hoping. Once the spectacular light to the east faded, I started heading back towards the beach. I didn't have time to grab my gimbal, so the footage is a bit shaky, but I wanted to show just how varied and impressive the sunrise was, coupled with the storm clouds. As I've said in prior videos, I think it's important to stick around for 15 to 20 minutes following a sunrise or sunset, because the lighting often changes briefly to something worth capturing. I'd say this footage exemplifies that, demonstrating just how impressive the lighting and clouds remained once the sun had risen. When I left the pier, I thought I'd stayed long enough and packed up to head home. After all, it was already maybe 25 minutes after the sunrise. But as I walked to my car, I thought, man, I should have stayed even a little bit longer. When you've done this as long as I have, it's impossible to remember every sunrise or sunset that you've seen. But in all honesty, I think I'll remember this one for a long time. I think it's one of the best I've ever witnessed. It's certainly the best that I've seen in 2021. And while this was a repeat location from a recent video, I still think that the contrast between the foggy day and the spectacular sunrise speaks volumes. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Well, from a day that evoked feelings of emptiness and ghost ships to a day that brought dramatic and breathtaking lighting, these two separate shoots resulted in an example of just how different our photographic stories can be. So next time you're out shooting, think about the story you want to tell. Think about how your image can craft those words for you. And if you think you shot something before and you're done with it, maybe reconsider. And think about what different story you can tell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next week.